All right, we are live. I have a very special guest with me. It's Kristine Tran from Nufs Superfoods. I was introduced from Kristine through a mutual friend of ours on Facebook, and when we chatted, I thought it was a perfect match for me to chat with her and partner with her with FightFit because of her the company's focus on healthy foods. And I had the opportunity of trying these guys today, actually. And it's just like the name implies, the sweetness is just enough for you to get that sweet kick while it has a ton of great macronutrients in it. So welcome, Kristine, to the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Joe. And how many bites did it take for you to feel satiated?
I literally only had like two of them, and I was like, whoa, this is good.
You're like, that's just enough. Perfect.
That's it too. It's just enough. So it's like two, and then you feel good. So it's awesome, and it kept me
Yeah.
satiated. Yeah, it kept me satiated all the way till lunch. So that was good.
Oh, awesome. No, that's great. That's like one of the reasons why we started it because, sometimes it's hard for us to know how much is enough food and kind of going intuitively with how you feel and being like, oh, you know what? I am quite satiated. And I think from the days of like, going out for pasta, like I know for sure when I was in high school and university, my budget was like non-existent. I was like, the more, the better, right? Like bigger is better. And our whole philosophy is if you're eating nutrient dense superfoods, then less is actually more.
I love that. I love that. And it just goes by just looking at the ingredients, super, super healthy stuff. So Kristine, I want to ask you, what was your background and how did you get started with this whole company?
Yeah, thanks. So I started the business with my sister Jess, and our dad was diagnosed with diabetes back in 2016. And at that point, he wasn't a heavy set guy by any means, and we were just thinking, like, how could this be? When we did a little more research, we saw that 1 in 3 Canadians is either diabetic or pre-diabetic. And we started to look at, what are the driving causes of diabetes, and it's, insulin resistance, having too much sugar. And we started looking at the nutrition fact table, which we never did really before, right? Like when you're eating Sour Patch candies and popcorn and pizza, they don't give you the fact table. And so then we started noticing there's a lot of sugar hidden in things that we didn't suspect, like spaghetti sauce is a perfect example. It tastes so good. There's a little bit of sugar in it. So of course it does. And then we realized, that your daily average intake is only 50 grams of sugar a day. And an average protein bar or like average muffin has 27 grams of sugar. So that's over 50%. And so I think from there we thought, okay, we should create something that's low in sugar and not too sweet. And that could help us curb some of those cravings. Because, it's a cycle. Once I have a Kit Kat, then I'm going to have chips and then I'm going to have Popeyes for dinner. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's always nice to treat yourself and indulge. But when it becomes a behavior, then you're like, oh, wait, how do I slow down the brakes a little bit? And I think that's great about the program that you guys are on right now. 6 weeks, develop a new habit, and you start to really instill these new behaviors.
Yeah, that's totally like when we get people into our program, the first thing they realize is like once they start eating nutrient dense foods, they're not that hungry.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's fascinating. There's this Japanese term because they come up with the best terms like you don't eat because you're hungry, you eat because your mouth is lonely. So you just want to like nom 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 nom, right? And then if someone says like, "Are you hungry?" and you're like, "Well, maybe not," right? Maybe I'm thirsty. So yeah, it and it's harder to notice too. I think when we're so busy on the go. So I think a lot of people over the past year have started to become more mindful of like the habits that they have and the, death by 1,000 cuts kind of situations.
Yeah, I get it. So your dad had diabetes, so you and your sister were inspired to start this company. How did you guys start like creating a food company to fix things?
That's a good point. For a little bit, we actually thought like maybe we'll have a blog that's like motivational, and we're pretty private people, I guess. Like I'm not an influencer for sure, but I think it's a wonderful skill. I think influencers are such an important part of our consumer ecosystem, of our awareness and education. But I'm not good at it. I'm not good in camera and photos or anything like that. And then
as I'm asking you to do a live interview with us.
literally just said to me, by the way, this is live. I was like, all right, let's lean into the discomfort.
Hey,
So yeah, then I was just thinking, I was saying to my sister, like, I know that my mental health is super important, but I also know that when I just force myself to, okay, just have a salad tomorrow, just have some celery, don't lean into that can of Coke, then I'm like, okay, I actually do feel better. And so it all kind of, like, your mental health and your physical health are so connected.
mhm,
So we just looked at it as like the food that you eat is the fuel that runs your body. If you're driving a really nice car, you're probably going to put premium gas in it. So your body is your car, it's your engine. And so how are you choosing to fuel that? And you can sense that difference between good fuel and bad fuel. And so that's why we focused on food. We felt like it was a really good entry point, for people to consider how they fuel their bodies, and then eventually their mind, because your mental health is so interconnected with your
for
physical
sure,
health.
for sure.
I'm sure people leave your program or just like leave a boxing class and they're just like, Joe, I feel amazing,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like it's so interconnected, and you can't, again, love French fries, but before a boxing session, I'm not going to have French fries. I'm going
for
to feel
sure, for
right.
sure. A
Um,
lot. Something it comes to mind. Something I think about when you say that stuff about how everything's so interconnected is how you do one thing's how you do everything. So making sure that the food is on point and everything else kind of just starts to fall in line once you get
mhm.
the food in. So I'm just curious. You guys decided to go the food route, and
Yep.
how did you guys look and find these, like, pick the foods that you decided to put into these bites? Because if people see them, they're like small little morsels, but just enough to be
Yeah.
full.
Yeah, I had a recipe that I played around with about 5 years ago, and I kept on bringing it to work. And my coworkers were saying, like, "Oh, that's really good. Like, keep on bringing it." And I was in finance at the time. And I was like, "I'm not your baker. Like, take me seriously, you know." And then that was kind of the beginning point. And I guess maybe 2 years ago, a friend suggested, like, you've always been entrepreneurial. Why don't you just give one of your ideas a try? So I took that recipe, played around with it, incorporated more Asian flavors, because while that recipe was very interesting, I think within the category of healthy foods, everything is kind of like chocolate sea salt, or like nuts and fruit. And so that's why we had the black sesame and ginger orange walnut and
These ones
panda
right
and
here.
coconut. Yeah, these lovely brands.
Sesame, that's awesome. I
Which
saw sesame, I was like, that's bomb.
yeah, yeah, which is a reflection of our, heritage growing up. And I think there were a lot of flavors that we enjoyed, particularly pandan. We were like, wait, why don't we eat that anymore? Oh, right, because it was really high in sugar. So, we probably evolved over time from being the 100% sugar bubble tea consumer to now like no sugar bubble tea. So, like, why don't we incorporate those flavors into a healthier format? And then what we noticed was that I think there's a community that likes those flavors and is familiar with those flavors, but then there's another community where it's new. And I think to bring them in to try these other flavors, they they needed a flavor that was felt comfortable and familiar, and that's been brownie. And so a lot of people, they say, not I didn't put in their mouth, but they're like, this is like a better version of the 2 bite brownie. I'm like, if you say so,
Yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah. It is actually. The two bite brownie's super sweet, and I found these ones were not the sweetness that you'd get when you first eat one of those things. So
Yeah, yeah. And I think we just started with, I guess back to your core question, how do we come up with the ingredients? It was all the things that we felt were not filler. So there's no like glucose syrup, there's no like kind of padding to like
mhm,
add weight to it. It's literally the most premium ingredients. Almond flour is so expensive, and
yeah,
go to the grocery store and you look at a bag of almonds versus oatmeal. It's a huge price discrepancy. And so we were just kind of went with what we felt good to us, and then it became a business. It wasn't it kind of started with what we enjoyed, and then people started to enjoy it as well. So we're like, maybe we should share it.
yeah. You're onto something. So right now you're shipping this stuff all across like, where? How many markets are you in now?
Yeah, we're all across Canada. We also do some select shipping to the US as well. So we have customers out in Newfoundland and also out in Vancouver. and it's like as far east as far west. Also have some customers in Montreal. So it's been interesting. Social media has definitely been the platform that we've used to reach out to customers with COVID. My sister quit her job, and her first day was actually the day the World Health Organization announced COVID-19 as global pandemic. So we kind of were just like, not the best time, but is there ever, best time?
I always say that there is never a good time for anything.
You probably have that, in your business. Like people are like, okay, I'm going to change my habits. I have a wedding, I have this, I want to start dating more or something, right? And, you're probably saying to people, today is the best day to start your best life, right? So we just kind of went with it, and we've just kind of been, it's like boxing, just kind of like going with the flow.
Roll with the punches.
Roll the punches. Hopefully there's no knockout situation. We haven't had that yet. Total knockout. Oh my goodness, that would be awful.
It's not how many times you get knocked up, but how many times you get up. So
that's right. I sent that clip, that Rocky quote, to someone the other day. Like the thing that's going to hit you the hardest is life, is what he said.
It is.
It's so true. It's so true.
Love it. So you launched pretty much. So your sister came on. Like, how many years have you guys been in business now?
So we really just started officially like March of 2020.
Okay, that's awesome. So exactly right when the whole craziness happened.
Literally, I called her the night before. And I was like, I don't know, a lot of these news reports, I think shit's gonna go down. Like, what if we can't buy almond flour? So I said to her, like, tomorrow morning, 5:30 a.m. Let's get in a car and go to Costco and buy ingredients. And that's when we were at Costco waiting in line, was when we heard on the radio. It's like old school, like on the radio, newscaster is saying this. It was a wild time. But
exciting.
Glad to dive into the deep end and get a chance to talk to customers. I think in a way that, like I said, things are so busy, life is so hectic, and now you're really getting a chance to get to know your consumers, what they value, and what they appreciate. So it's been great.
For sure. So now, now that our clients so one of the things I partnered with Kristine and some of the clients watching this, and people that are watching this live know that she's one of our sponsors for our 6-week challenge and our Little Black House project.
Get out of the box, like work out. So excited for y'all.
Well, you know what? The funny thing is, we're Fight Fitness, but no one really does. Like, we fight fat. So
and I think that's a big part of your overall health. To fight fat, because that's where the risk lies. I think.
Sure.
I heard someone saying to me once, like, obviously fat is not a bad thing, right? Like a lot of the nuts and seeds that we have in our product is high in fat, which is satiating and can be an efficient use of fuel for your workout. But someone was saying, like if you start to pinch yourself and it really hurts, like then that's probably like a bad fat. That's making it harder on, your overall body to run itself, and for your heart to like pump blood throughout its system.
Absolutely. So we want to get rid of that bad fat. So there's actually a opportunity for everybody to be trying out some of your products. I think there was a promo code that we were launching.
So we have a promo code. It's called Fight21. And so that'll allow you to buy our bins at 30% off with free delivery. It works out, the normal pricing would be like $2.88 a serving, but that'll work out to like $2.20 a serving. And it's, as Joe said, our servings we prescribe as 3 bites. And as Joe mentioned, he only had 2, and that was enough to get him through like 3 or 4 hours. So it's from what we've heard from customers, it's just enough. And they have it throughout the day, before workout, after workout, after a meal, when you're like, I just need something to round this out, just like one brownie. Someone's like, it's just finishes the meal. So I'm like, great. That's lovely to hear.
That's awesome. And where could they go to do this? Is there your website? What's your website?
Yeah. You can check us out at nufs.ca. So it's N for Nancy, U for umbrella, F for Frank, S for Sam.ca. And you can also check us out on Instagram at nufs_bites.
Awesome, Kristine. Well, I appreciate you jumping on this with me. I know you didn't
Thank
expect this
you.
to be live, but you roll with the punches and you made it here. So thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
being on the show.
Thank you so much for having us, and I'm looking forward to everyone finishing their challenge and feeling great for the new year.
Awesome. Thanks, Kristine. Have a good one.
Bye, Joe.